The research vessel Helixion drifted silently through the void, its once pristine hull now scarred by weapons fire. Inside, Captain Nix 427, a crystalline being from the Andromeda sector, pressed her translucent appendages against the ship's failing life support controls. The vessel's sophisticated medical research laboratory, carrying potential cures for dozens of species, was their most precious cargo and their greatest burden. "Status report," Nix commanded, her voice resonating like wind chimes in the ship's deteriorating atmosphere. Chief Engineer Zorblax, a gaseous entity contained within an environmental suit, swirled anxiously as he responded. "Primary systems are failing, Captain. Life support will last another 48 hours at most. The quantum drive is completely dead." Dr. Krelthen, the ship's lead researcher, a 12-limbed arachnoid with bioluminescent markings, chittered nervously as she monitored the laboratory's preservation systems. "Captain, if we lose power to the stasis fields, 3 years of cross-species medical research will be destroyed. Millions will lose their chance at treatment." The fourth crew member, Navigator Esh, a being of pure energy who inhabited a mechanical frame, flickered dimly. "The pirates knew exactly where to hit us. They disabled our communications array and quantum drive with surgical precision. Traditional distress beacons won't reach any major shipping lanes from this sector." Captain Nix's crystalline form pulsed with determination. "Deploy the quantum beacon. It's experimental, but it's our only hope." "The quantum beacon?" Zorblax's gaseous form swirled faster. "But Captain, it's untested. The energy signature could attract more pirates or worse." "We're dead anyway if we do nothing," Nix responded. "Deploy it." The beacon activated with a subtle ripple through spacetime, its quantum signature reaching across vast distances instantaneously. Hours passed like years as the crew worked to maintain their failing systems, each of them wondering if their last act would be protecting the precious medical research that could save countless lives across the galaxy. 26 hours later, when hope was beginning to fade, Navigator Esh's sensors detected something. "Captain, a ship is approaching, but it's unlike anything in our database." A small vessel emerged from the darkness of space, its design completely alien to the Helixion's crew. It was rugged, practical, with none of the elegant bioengineering common to known spacefaring races. The ship's transponder identified it as the Lucky Strike. "This is Captain June Winchester of the independent cargo vessel Lucky Strike," a voice transmitted. "Picked up your quantum distress signal. Looks like you folks could use a hand." The crew exchanged uncertain looks. Humans were known across the galaxy as an enigma, a young species that had somehow survived their violent history to reach the stars. They were considered unpredictable, innovative, and either incredibly brave or foolishly reckless, depending on who you asked. "This is Captain Nix 427 of the research vessel Helixion," Nix responded. "We've suffered critical damage. Our life support is failing, and we're carrying irreplaceable medical research." There was a pause before the human responded. "Understood, Captain. I've got experience with various ship systems and a full toolkit. Request permission to dock and assist." Dr. Krelthen's bioluminescent markings flashed with anxiety. "Captain, can we trust a human? They're known to be unpredictable." Nix's crystalline form sparkled as she considered their options. "Do we have a choice? We need help and they answered our call." She turned her attention back to the communications. "Permission granted, Captain Winchester, but be advised, we are a multi-species crew with specific environmental needs." "Copy that," Winchester replied, a hint of excitement in her voice. "I've worked with diverse crews before, beginning docking procedures now." As the Lucky Strike aligned with their airlock, the Helixion's crew watched with a mixture of hope and trepidation. They had no way of knowing that this encounter would not only save their lives, but would reshape their understanding of humanity and forge bonds stronger than the vastness of space itself. The airlock cycled, and Captain June Winchester stepped aboard. She was tall for a human, with dark skin, close-cropped silver hair, and eyes that seemed to sparkle with curiosity and determination. Her environment suit was well-worn but meticulously maintained, covered in patches and modifications that spoke of years of improvised repairs. "Well," she said, taking in the diverse crew with an appreciative whistle, low. "Trust in the unknown." Captain June Winchester moved through the heliction with practiced efficiency, her diagnostic tools scanning the ship's failing systems. The crew watched as she interfaced her equipment with their alien technology, her movements precise despite the unfamiliar environment. "Your life support's not just failing," she muttered, examining readings on her holographic display. "It's been sabotaged. Those pirates knew exactly what they were doing." Captain Nix's crystalline form dimmed slightly. "Sabotage? Are you certain?" "Look here," June projected a three-dimensional schematic. "They didn't just damage the system, they introduced a cascading failure protocol. It's elegant in a twisted way, but I think I can bypass it." Dr. Krelthen's bioluminescent markings pulsed with skepticism. "Our engineers are among the finest in 3 sectors. How could a human possibly?" June was already moving, her tools flying across the control panels. "Because humans specialize in breaking rules. Your systems are based on quantum harmonics, right? Beautiful technology, but it follows strict mathematical principles. Break those principles." She jammed a modified power coupling into the main console, and suddenly the life support readings stabilized. "And you can make it do things it was never designed to do." Chief Engineer Zorblak swirled closer, his gaseous form expressing intense interest. "Fascinating. You've created a feedback loop that shouldn't be possible." "Sometimes the impossible is exactly what you need," June grinned. "Now about your quantum drive." As hours passed, the crew began to see their human savior in a new light. June worked tirelessly, sharing stories of her adventures while she repaired their systems. She spoke of growing up on Mars, of learning to survive by making do with whatever was available, of seeing every broken thing as a puzzle waiting to be solved. Navigator Esh, particularly fascinated by June's approach, began assisting her directly. The energy being's ability to interface with electronics complemented June's improvisational style perfectly. "Your methods defy conventional logic," Esh observed, "yet they achieve results our most advanced systems cannot." "That's humanity for you," June replied, deep in the ship's mechanics. "We're too stubborn to accept impossible odds. Now hand me that plasma wrench, well, whatever you call that tool that looks like a twisted metacarpal." As trust grew, Dr. Krelthen finally revealed the true nature of their medical research. The heliction carried experimental treatments that could cure diseases across multiple species, treatments that combined biological and quantum principles in ways never before attempted. June whistled low. "No wonder those pirates hit you so hard. This research could be worth fortunes to the right buyers." She paused, wiping grease from her hands. "Or save countless lives in the right hands." "Precisely why we must protect it," Captain Nix stated. "The question is, can we trust you with this knowledge?" June met the captain's crystalline gaze steadily. "I'm a cargo hauler, Captain. I've turned down plenty of illegal jobs that would have made me rich. Some things matter more than money." The moment of understanding was interrupted by Navigator Esh's urgent flickering. "Captain, multiple ships dropping out of quantum space. The pirates have returned." "Pirates on the horizon." The pirate fleet emerged from quantum space like predators closing in for the kill, 5 ships of varying sizes, all bristling with weapons. Their leader's voice crackled over the comm system, arrogant and cold. "Captain Nix 427, the voice sneered. "Surprised to see us so soon? Your quantum beacon was like a lighthouse in the dark. Surrender your research vessel and we'll consider letting your crew live." June's eyes narrowed as she studied the tactical display. 5 ships, heavily armed, they've got us surrounded. A slow smile spread across her face. "Perfect." "Perfect," Dr. Krelthen's markings flashed in alarm. "How is this perfect?" "Because they think they've got us trapped," June explained, already moving to the engineering station. "But they don't know we've spent the last 12 hours modifying your systems in ways they couldn't possibly expect." Captain Nix's crystalline form pulsed with interest. "What do you propose?" June's hands flew across the controls. Your quantum drive isn't just for propulsion, it's basically a reality manipulation engine. We can't use it for movement right now, but... She glanced at Navigator Esh. How do you feel about becoming a weapon? The energy being flickered with sudden understanding. Ah, you wish to channel the quantum drive's energy through my consciousness to create a localized disruption field. I have no idea what that means, June grinned. But if it involves turning their technological advantages against them, then yes. The plan came together quickly. While June and Zorblax modified the quantum drive, Dr. Krelthin prepared the ship's medical systems to generate a massive burst of quantum-enhanced electromagnetic energy. Captain Nix coordinated the effort, her crystalline nature allowing her to process multiple streams of information simultaneously. The pirates, growing impatient, began their approach. "This is your final warning," their leader threatened. "Surrender now or—" "Now," June shouted. Navigator Esh's energy form merged with the ship's modified systems. The quantum drive pulsed, channeling its reality-warping power through the energy being's consciousness. A wave of distortion rippled out from the heliction, invisible but devastating. The pirates' ships suddenly found their quantum-based systems turning against them. Weapons refused to fire, shields collapsed, and navigation systems went haywire. In the chaos, two of their ships collided, while another spun out of control. "That's impossible," the pirate leader's voice crackled with static. "What have you done?" "The impossible is our specialty," June replied, watching with satisfaction as the pirate fleet scattered in disarray. "Want to stick around and see what else we can do?" The remaining pirates fled, their sophisticated ships reduced to barely functioning wrecks by the quantum disruption. As the danger passed, the Heliction's crew celebrated their victory, but June was already focused on the next challenge. "The quantum disruption bought us time," she said, examining the readings. "But it also fried what was left of your quantum drive. We need to get you somewhere safe before those pirates regroup." Captain Nix turned to her crew. "Opinions?" "I vote we trust her," Zorblax swirled enthusiastically. "Her methods are unorthodox but effective." "Agreed," Navigator Esh flickered. "She has proven both her capability and her integrity." Dr. Krelthin's markings pulsed thoughtfully. "The research must be protected, and, I admit, working with her has been enlightening." "Then it's settled," Captain Nix declared. The Lucky Strike towed the Heliction through the depths of space, the smaller human vessel straining against the mass of the damaged research ship. Inside the Heliction's bridge, June Winchester studied the long-range sensors with growing concern. The pirate fleet might have retreated, but they had left behind a network of quantum beacons, tracking their every move. "They're hurting us," June explained, pointing to the sensor display where Captain Nix's crystalline form cast prismatic light across the holographic map. "Every route to the nearest safe ports is blocked. They're forcing us toward the Crimson Nebula." "The Crimson Nebula?" Zorblax's gaseous form condensed with anxiety. "That region is notorious for quantum storms. No ship's shielding can withstand those forces for long." Dr. Krelthin chittered nervously, her bioluminescent markings pulsing with rapid calculations. "Our research samples require perfect stasis conditions. Even a minor quantum fluctuation could destroy years of work." Navigator Esh flickered thoughtfully, their energy form interfacing with the ship's sensors. "The pirates know this. They expect us to turn back straight into their ambush." June's eyes lit up with that particular gleam that the crew had learned meant either brilliance or madness was forthcoming. "Then let's do exactly what they don't expect. We're going into the nebula." "That's suicide," Dr. Krelthin's markings flashed in alarm. "Not necessarily," June said, pulling up schematics of both ships. "The Lucky Strike's hull is lined with magnetized carbon fiber mesh. It's how independent haulers protect against solar storms. If we can adapt that technology, combine it with your quantum shielding." She turned to Captain Nix. "How do you feel about wearing my ship?" The plan that emerged was audacious. Using the Lucky Strike's hull as a template, they would create a hybrid shield matrix, combining human engineering with alien quantum technology. The smaller ship would literally wrap around the Helixion's most vulnerable sections, while June's modified shield generators would work in concert with the research vessel's remaining quantum systems. Captain Nix's crystalline form pulsed with decisiveness. Begin modifications immediately. We have no time to waste. The next 12 hours were a blur of activity. June and Zorblax worked to integrate the ship's systems, while Dr. Krelthen and Navigator Esch calculated the precise shield frequencies needed to survive the quantum storms. Captain Nix coordinated their efforts, her multifaceted consciousness monitoring every detail of the complex operation. As they worked, the pirates closed in, their ships appearing on long-range sensors like shadows in the void. But June had one more surprise in store. "Your medical research," she said to Dr. Krelthen while elbow-deep in shield circuitry. "It involves quantum biological interfaces, right? Living tissue interacting with quantum fields." "Correct," the arachnoid scientist confirmed. "Why?" "Because we're not just going to survive the nebula," June grinned. "We're going to use it. Navigator Esch, remember how you channeled the quantum drive's energy? Think you could do the same thing with an entire nebula?" The energy being's form brightened with understanding. "The quantum storms, they could act as an amplifier, but the power involved would be enormous, uncontrollable." "Not with the right focus," June countered. "Dr. Krelthen's research equipment is designed to handle quantum biological interactions. If we modify it, route it through your consciousness." "We could ride the quantum storms," Captain Nix finished, her crystalline form gleaming with sudden insight. "Use their power to boost us through the nebula while simultaneously disrupting any pursuit." The modifications were barely complete when the pirates made their move. 3 heavily armed vessels emerged from quantum space, their weapons charged and ready. "Final chance, Captain Nix," the pirate leader's voice crackled through the comm. "Surrender your research or we'll reduce both ships to atoms." "Actually," June cut in, "I've got a counteroffer." She nodded to Navigator Esch. "Show them what happens when you corner a human and her alien friends." Navigator Esch's energy form merged with the modified systems. The Lucky Strike's shields, now quantum-enhanced, began to glow with an otherworldly light. Dr. Krelthen's research equipment hummed to life, creating a cascade of quantum biological reactions that spread through both ships like living lightning. The Helixion plunged into the Crimson Nebula, riding waves of quantum energy that would have torn any normal vessel apart. Behind them, the pirate ships attempted to follow, only to find themselves caught in a wake of chaotic quantum fluctuations that overwhelmed their shields and scrambled their systems. Inside the hybrid vessel, the crew worked in perfect synchronization. Captain Nix directed their course, her crystalline nature allowing her to perceive safe paths through the quantum storms. Zorblax maintained the delicate balance of their combined systems, while Dr. Krelthen monitored the quantum biological interface that kept them alive. Navigator Esch, glowing brighter than ever, channeled the nebula's raw power, turning destruction into salvation. And at the heart of it all, June Winchester stood at her jury-rigged control station, orchestrating their impossible flight with the same confident grin she'd worn since the moment she'd first answered their distress call. "You know," she shouted over the sound of reality itself straining around them, "this is exactly why I love working with aliens. You make the impossible just another day at the office." 3 days after their daring escape through the Crimson Nebula, the combined vessels emerged at the edge of Alliance space. The Helixion's hull gleamed with residual quantum energy, the Lucky Strike's modified shielding now permanently fused with its structure. But it wasn't just the ships that had been transformed by their journey. The new Galactic Alliance's primary medical research station hung in space before them like a silver lotus, its petals open to receive ships from across the galaxy. As they approached, transmissions flooded in. Apparently, their adventure had not gone unnoticed. "Multiple ships detecting our signature," Navigator Esch reported, their energy form still flickering with traces of nebula power. "The Alliance is hailing us. They're celebrating." Dr. Krelthen's bioluminescent markings pulsed with excitement as she analyzed the incoming data. "The quantum storms did more than just protect us. The energy exposure has accelerated our research samples development. The results, she paused, her markings flashing in disbelief, they're beyond anything we hoped for. June leaned against her makeshift control panel, which now bore the marks of both human engineering and alien modifications. So not only did we save your research, we improved it. Not bad for a bunch of improvisers. Not bad at all. Captain Nix's crystalline form sparkled with amusement. Though I suspect this is not the end of our collaboration. The medical station's docking bay was crowded with representatives from various species when they landed. News of their breakthrough had spread quickly. A human cargo pilot and an alien research crew achieving what entire scientific institutions couldn't. But more importantly, the story of their cooperation had caught the galaxy's imagination. As they prepared to disembark, June found herself surrounded by the crew she'd come to think of as family. Zorblax swirled around her, and what she'd learned was his species' equivalent of a hug. "You must stay for the acknowledgement ceremony," his gaseous form spelled out in excited patterns. "The Alliance wishes to recognize your contribution." "And we have a proposition for you," Captain Nix added. "The Helixion's modifications have given us unique capabilities. The Alliance has suggested we continue our work, not just medical research, but exploring new ways to combine human and alien technologies. They're calling it the Synthesis Initiative," Dr. Krelthin explained, her markings forming complex patterns of possibility. "A program to explore what different species can achieve when we stop being bound by our own limitations." Navigator Esh flickered with enthusiasm. "Your lucky strike is now part of the Helixion. Perhaps its captain would consider a more permanent arrangement as well." June looked around at the transformed ship that had become a symbol of interspecies cooperation. The medical station's lights played off the quantum-enhanced hull, creating patterns that seemed to bridge the gap between human engineering and alien science. In just a few days, these beings had gone from desperate strangers to trusted companions. "You know," she said with a grin, "I always thought being an independent cargo hauler meant being alone. But out here between the stars, maybe independence means something different. Maybe it means being free to choose your family." Captain Nix extended a crystalline appendage, its facets reflecting June's smile. "Then you accept." "On one condition," June replied, her eyes twinkling. "We keep looking for impossible situations to get ourselves into. After all," she gestured to their hybrid ship and its diverse crew, "impossible is where humans do their best work." "Agreed," Captain Nix's form pulsed with approval. "Though perhaps we should work on your definition of impossible." As they walked together toward the waiting Alliance representatives, June Winchester, former independent cargo hauler, now pioneer of human-alien cooperation, couldn't help but laugh. She'd answered a distress call expecting to find aliens in need of rescue. Instead, she'd found a way to bridge the vast distances between species, proving that in the endless expanse of space, the greatest discoveries come not from technology or science, but from the simple willingness to reach out and trust the unknown. The Helixion story would become legend in the years that followed, not just for the medical breakthroughs it achieved, but as proof that the galaxy's greatest advances come when different species work together. And somewhere out there, between the stars, a hybrid ship with a human heart continues to seek out the impossible, turning challenges into opportunities and strangers into family.